everybody. Welcome. Okay, we're good. Start with roll call. Suzanne?
Thank you, Mayor Levy. Mayor Levy.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Harvey.
Here.
Councilmember Carr.
Here.
Councilmember Matthews.
Here.
Councilmember Saunier and Councilmember Sawyer are both absent. Ms. Schaefer, excuse me.
Schaefer.
Councilmember Sawyer. Are you here?
I'm here.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Thanks very much. We have a special start to this evening. We have 3 wonderful scouts that are here today to help us with the Pledge of Allegiance. And I'm going to call Weston and Tyler and Gavin up to lead the Pledge of Allegiance. And after the Pledge of Allegiance today, we'll ask everybody to stand and just in silence for a minute or so and think about Las Vegas and think about our lives and really thinking about how we put things in perspective in our life before this meeting tonight. So welcome these gentlemen, and if everybody would please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That's the way to start a council meeting, right there. All right, Suzanne, we'll move on to you.
Thank you, Mayor Levy. This evening we have 3 different boards and committees that will be receiving appointments, and I'd like to start with the Keep Woodland Park Beautiful Committee. There's currently 3 vacancies on this committee, and pursuant to council's policy, the clerk's office advertised in the way that's called for, and we received 2 applications. We received an application from Mr. Randy Emerson, who I know is here this evening, and is Ms. Kimberly Rainey here? No, okay. So Mr. Emerson is here and Ms. Rainey is not. Mr. Emerson is available to answer any questions that you may have, and I'm available to administer the oath of office should he be appointed.
Sounds good. Thanks very much. Mr. Emerson, would you like to come forward? And if you'll just step to the mic and give us your name and address, and we'll go from there.
My name's Randy Emerson. I live at the Trail Ridge Apartments. Just moved in August 26th. 914 Stone Park Lane, apartment 306.
Great.
So happy to be here.
Well, we're glad to have you here. We appreciate your willingness to participate. Councilman Matthews is the head of Keep Woodland Park Beautiful, so I'm going to let him start.
I guess, as always, what is your motivation to get involved in this particular committee?
Well, the main thing is I just, like I say, I just moved here in August. I thought that I saw the ads on the TV on the local channel and thought that'd be a great way to get involved in the community and start meeting people. My parents moved here when they retired and had 17 of their best years of their life were here. I've been coming here since I was 2 years old, vacationing here all the time, and so this is my second home. And so I just wanted to be involved.
That's great. It's a great way to look at it. And to get involved is always good in any community. Thank you.
Who else? Any questions? Go ahead, Ralph.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Emerson, you are volunteered for two things tonight, I believe. Is that true?
Yes, actually, I put in about 5 or 6 different
Oh, well, there you
boards
go.
that you had.
We welcome all the volunteers. We have a wonderful volunteer community here, and nothing prevents you from serving on as many as possible, right? Well, with some exceptions, there are some exceptions, but the two that we're looking at tonight aren't a problem. Would you rather do one or the other, or both? I suppose it's a stupid question after hearing you apply for 5 of them.
Yeah, I'd like to do both of them.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Should we just ask him about the other one now, too? So it doesn't have to come up here twice?
The other one that you're applying for is the Board of Review?
No, Parks and
Park and Rec.
Recreation.
Yeah, I don't think there's...
I can just give you a quick background on that. That was a full committee. There became an opening when Marty McKenna resigned. So Mr. Emerson would be filling out Marty McKenna's term, which would end in April 2018.
Do we have any other applicants for that?
That he's the only one, sir.
And there are no prohibitions on him serving on both committees?
No.
Just a comment, not really a question. First, you look too young to have retired from anything, but I want to thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank you for your service as a police officer and working with the American Red Cross. In the last few weeks, I've come to really appreciate the work of the Red Cross in Texas and Florida and now in Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands, and that's a commendable contribution you've made to the community as a whole. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it.
Nice to meet you.
Okay, and Miss Raines is not here. Is that correct?
It's Miss Rainey, yes.
Miss Rainey. Okay. Council, we have 2 for 3 positions. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
How should we proceed?
You can make a motion to appoint both if you
Okay.
choose.
So moved?
Second.
Thank you, Suzanne.
Carr,
Yes.
Harvey,
Yes.
Levy,
Yes.
Matthews,
Yes.
Sawyer.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. And I can swear Mr. Emerson in.
Should
for
we
both.
do both of them?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Look how easy that was, Mr. Emerson.
Let me just come out here so everyone can see you. If you raise your right hand and repeat after me, I, Randy Emerson, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the state of Colorado, the Charter and
we killed two birds with one stone, right, Suzanne?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to move on. We have 5 applicants for this board of review, and I think our Sergeant Anonymous, Mr. Wiley, will be hard at work here. I think we'll interview one at a time, and we'll sequester the other 4. I'm sorry.
If I may,
Please.
Mr. Eady has withdrawn his application, so we have 4 for
Okay.
this evening.
And of the 4, how many are here tonight? Do you know?
I believe that we have, I see Ms. Carr is here, I see Mr. Carlson, and I know that, yep, there she is, Peggy is here.
Okay, good. So, council, assuming you have no objection,
Is
we'll take-
Jason DeVoe? There he is.
We'll take one at a time, interview, and go from there.
Just on a procedural thing, and then we'll do a paper ballot, which the clerk will read off with our names on them, right?
That's-
It'll be up to
I
us.
have them available.
Yeah.
It's up to council.
I guess I was discussing that before. Sorry.
Okay.
How many positions are there again? 3.
There are 3 positions available tonight. The charter requires that there be 3 folks assigned to the personnel board. You have 4 candidates before you this evening. You are under no obligation to pick 3 tonight. You can pick 1, 2, or 3, but you don't have to fill those positions tonight. You have the ability to select and not select. So when we do the paper ballots, you can again write down 0 names, 1 name, 2 names, or 3 names. You have that ability to do so.
We only have,
I thought we had a member of the personnel board.
No, there was a conflict. There was a member, but the charter requires that if you're a member of the personnel board, you cannot be assigned, can't be appointed, you cannot hold an appointed or elected position within the city of Woodland Park. Something that's appointed by the council.
And that individual was?
John DeVoe.
Oh, okay.
Like I said, Darwin Nacarado. Because Darwin, I mean, the names are very familiar. Darwin is on the community investment. He's actually the chair of that committee, and so he's ineligible to serve on the personnel review board.
okay, that sounds good. Okay, then I will take Ms. Fields first, and if the other 3 would go with Mr. Wiley, we'll stash you somewhere safe. Mr. Carlson, Mr. DeVoe, and Ms. Carr.
Mayor, if I could, Mr. DeVoe, you're certainly welcome to take your daughters with you. They'll be safe here, but they're welcome to go with you as well.
Oh.
They want to stay.
Okay.
Love that. Okay, welcome.
Thank you.
I'm going to let you start. Thanks for being here, and thanks for your application.
I'm Peggy Fields. I live at 725 Red Feather Lane in Woodland Park. I moved here in the 2013, and before I even moved here, I contacted Brian Fleer to see ways I could contribute to the city. One thing you probably should know about me, I have an extremely strong sense of fair play, and that's one of the things that intrigued me about the challenges this board is going to face. I think it's very important that it be fair to all sides, and that the resolution be something that the council can carry out. My background is I have a master's in vocational counseling, so I've always been interested in workplace behavior and success. I've had 35 years of executive level experience in the nonprofit sector, and I've also worked for state government in Montana. So I have a lot of things that touch on the issues that will be presented, I believe, in the personnel hearing.
Because you've made that statement, ma'am, could you explain what you think is coming up to the board and how that you would not be prejudiced against an upcoming hearing if you've already...
About the fair play, you mean?
No, you're talking about what you thought the board might be presented with.
Well, I think that the board's going to be presented with misunderstandings. It's going to be presented with differences of opinion, difference of viewpoint. All these things need to be analyzed and considered when taking corrective action.
What is your interpretation of at-will employee?
Interpretation of an at-will is that they serve at their willingness to serve, and that they have a certain obligations to their employer, but they can succeed from those anytime they wish.
Go ahead,
Ms. Fields, I noticed in your application, your resume attachment, you said I personally utilize procedures for evaluating, disciplining, and dismissing employees. Part of this personnel board would be, my hope would be that the people we get on it have some HR experience, and you mentioned this in here. Can you enlighten us any more on that?
Well, it was as an executive, in fact, for a community development corporation. I was the executive director of a community development corporation, and we had to remove somebody from our staff, so I used the procedure. But as far as personnel work, I don't have any of that strictly.
So you're not an HR person?
No, I'm not an HR person. It's more from management.
Okay, yeah.
You referred to Brian Fleer and talking about openings in the community. Brian's been gone for about a year or so. I'm wondering about your motivation, honestly. This board of review has had nobody on it and nobody come to council. All of a sudden, we've got 4 or 5 people. And so my concern is that people are coming here for one reason, and you know what that reason is. I want you to understand what the Board of Review's power is, if you will. I hope you understand that they can come with a recommendation, and a recommendation only to City Council.
Right.
In these kinds of situations, so I hope that's clear. And 2, it's just speak to that a little bit. You had all this time to come Board of Review, and now all of a sudden, help me understand.
About the motivation?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm not a high-profile person in this community. I have no political affiliations, but where I think I can contribute and I have experience, I'd like to contribute, and I would like to get more involved in the community.
Good. Great. Anything else? Ms. Fields, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. Kip, let's bring Jason DeVoe in next, please. Going in reverse alphabetical order, I just figured that out. Jason DeVoe.
Hello.
Welcome, Jason.
Introductions? I don't know.
Sure, just give us your name and your address and we'll go from there.
Sure. My name is Jason DeVoe. I live at 1955 Valley View Drive here in Woodland Park. I've lived here approximately 12 years. And as you can tell, I'm a single parent. Those are my girls out there soaking up all the civil experience here, or civic duty. Did you just want me to tell you about myself?
Sure, why don't we start with why are you here?
Well, about a week and a half ago, I was reading the Courier, so it's indirectly that I found out that there was openings on the personnel board. And I've been an attorney for 19 years. I've lived here in Woodland Park 12. I specialize in employment law and constitutional law, so I figured it was a good fit and something that maybe I could contribute to that wouldn't overly take me away from my kids and other things I have going on and responsibilities here in town. answer to that is no. I don't know anyone personally or any employment issues. I literally was reading the front page of the Courier. I knew that there was probably a review process for personnel in town, but I really wasn't familiar on the mechanics of it. And that's really where my interest started. It's not from any personal knowledge.
With your background, I would like to hear your interpretation of an at-will employee.
Well, you want my personal opinion?
Yes, please.
An at-will employee literally serves at the will and the discretion of the employer. So unless there's a justified for-cause reason for termination, which would violate their civil contractual rights, then they literally are an at-will person. So it would literally depend on, in that circumstance, why a person was being terminated in terms of whether or not it was truly an at-will termination or not. So I don't know any facts about any cases, so I can't give that interpretation of the law. But it's literally you're at the will of your employer. So if there's no outside four corners of a contract to interpret the employment law situation, then it's at the discretion and the will of the employer.
In the case of the Personnel Board, as prescribed by the city charter, it's advisory only. And in fact, any recommendation they make to the City Council, then in turn, any discussion we have with the city manager about an employee is advisory as well. It's been my intent to introduce an initiative to strike this particular board from our charter. I won't do it right now. It's probably not the best time to do that, but in your experience, are there other avenues for an employee to take if there is a dispute?
Well, that's a very broad question. It depends on why a person is being terminated. Even in an at-will situation, if there's issues of discrimination, certainly that can be a basis for a civil rights violation under either Colorado statute or under federal statute. It also depends on whether or not there's a history between the firing and terminating party, whether or not there was issues of harassment. So, I mean, that's a very broad question in terms of, it would require me to have more details.
But it would be handled within the court system of the state?
Well, it could be handled federally or in front of the state. In fact, if it involves federal civil rights issues, then it would certainly involve Title 19. It would probably fall under federal law. But for the most part, most of your local actions are going to fall under state law specifically. I could go into where federal and state jurisdiction would necessarily apply, but I'd probably bore you all.
But the primary basis, though, for a grievance that might be heard in any of those court
would initiate in district court, in the 4th Judicial District.
And most likely, in most cases, would be on a civil violation, discrimination for race, sex, creed, color.
Issues such as that could certainly fall under federal or state. It would depend on where the person would wish to initiate the action. There's no requirement you have to initiate an issue involving federal civil rights violations under state law. You could certainly initiate it in federal court. Most people, due to the cost of litigation, would probably initiate that action in state court, just because the litigation costs are significantly less. I can attest to that. Charge a lot more to take things to federal court.
Thank you.
Counsel?
Jason, thanks. Your expertise will be very well utilized, and look forward to maybe participate in other things.
I'd like to do that, as long as you don't terminate things that I'm up for.
Thanks for stepping up. I know you have a big responsibility at home, and I miss seeing those girls, and I'll be getting more there soon.
You sure like to.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Sherry Carr. Good evening, Sherry. How are you?
I'm fine, thank
Just
you.
give us your name and address, please.
Okay, I'm Sherry Carr, 1291 Char West Drive, Woodland Park. And can I read a little thing?
Please do.
Okay, might solve some of these. I'm used to talking to an audience I'm here tonight to apply for a seat on the Personnel Board. I enjoy volunteering my time, and after watching the last council meeting on my computer, I thought this might be a good match for me and some of the experiences I've had. Currently, I serve on the board of the library in Woodland Park, and there, rarely it happens, but occasionally we get some people before us who have been expelled from the library for various reasons, patrons, and they apply to come get their privileges back, so we review them kind of as a personnel type thing. So that happens sometimes. Also, in executive session, we have acted on personnel issues where we've had confidentially had to deal with personnel issues there. So we've had to do that. My relevant past work experience also includes working with beginning teachers as a master teacher. This position entailed not only supervising probationary teachers, but supporting and representing them during the accreditation process. And also, if they had to go through a hearing process, I would represented them to help them get or keep their accreditation. I also served several years on my school district's insurance board, hearing appeals for denied claims. We had a self-funded kind of thing, and often people would come with their claims and they were denied, and we would get to decide, because we were self-funded, if they had a valid claim. And so I got to work on that. My education includes a master's degree in education plus 60 units. I was working on my PhD until I became a single mom and decided family time was more important. I also have a paralegal certificate in civil litigation. As you've probably noticed, my last name is Carr, and I assure you that I always have been and always will keep all matters dealt with in executive sessions completely confidential. And that includes even where my husband is concerned, and I always have done that. Anything in executive session I've kept confidential from him. He doesn't know anything personnel-wise that I've dealt with. I've never discussed with him. I pride myself on my professionalism, and I take my responsibilities seriously. If I'm appointed as a member of the city's personnel board, I would continue to hold myself to those high standards. Thank you for your consideration.
Thanks very much, Sherry. Council, who'd like to start?
Sherry, I'm going to ask you the question I asked the other two candidates. What is your understanding of an at-will employee?
At-will employee is someone who is hired and then can be let go. But I would believe there would have to be a reason for them being let go. But I'm not exactly sure. I would have to research that to know exactly what is meant by that.
I'm so pleased that you're choosing some aspect of the community to serve in a capacity that I think that you're well qualified for. But I have to ask you this question as well. Why now, and why this board?
Well, because as I said, I saw there was an opening when I was watching it on my computer, and there was an opening, and I thought, well, I have experience with personnel matters, and I currently do as a member of the library board, and there was an opening. And
there's been an opening for several years, though.
I didn't know it till I heard it announced at the last board meeting. I was not aware there was an opening. Thanks.
Sure, I got a question for you. I respect what you said relative to you and your husband. I'm concerned with conflict of interest. And what you're telling me is that there will be no conflict of interest. And I can tell you that conflict of interest is perceived. appreciate that.
Okay.
Val?
Just a couple of things. I didn't even know she had executive sessions. So apparently I don't know what's going on either. I never discuss anything. She's always up quilting when I'm doing my stuff, and we spend a lot of time watching TV together and some other things. But the Mayor Pro Tem has brought up the fact that no matter what this committee, whoever it's made up of, decides, it will come to council anyway. So I won't be recusing myself from that duty. The city attorney asked me before the meeting about this issue, and I said I'm going to pick the best HR people that we've got up in front of us, whoever that happens to be, and I will still do that. It's too bad we have 2 members out tonight, but regardless, she and I rarely talk about anything. She says, "Oh wow, that was an exciting meeting," if she watched it, and I say, "Yeah, it was an exciting meeting, whatever." But we really, there is no conflict of interest. I know the mayor perceives a conflict of interest, and others may, but she will be presenting to council, and I'm not council. I'm just one of 7.
Anybody else?
You and I have been part of that conflict of interest, so I understand the perception of it. I don't see a conflict of interest here based on the definition that Sherry could never be on any board or committee in the city, because that, by that definition, of your definition, would be a conflict of interest.
No, it's not because Val is a councilman. It's because of his position with Main Street. That's my concern.
Okay, well, that's different.
That's my own. It's not this.
And I understand the line of questioning. The reason we all of a sudden have 4 applicants for 3 positions that have been open for years and never been used is because of a situation that's going on. But okay, I see where you're coming from. I feel that there is a separation here, that the perception of conflict of interest, but not the actual conflict of interest. So, thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I wasn't aware that we were talking about Main Street. I'm holding on by a thread over there myself anyway. We were in Canada when apparently something happened. I'm unaware of what happened at all. I haven't even read the paper that apparently some other people have said was going on. So I have no idea. Outside of I went to a Main Street meeting last week and somebody was not there and we didn't even discuss it. So I have no preconceived notions from a Main Street standpoint either. There's worse problems over on Main Street than somebody missing, if I may.
I can't disagree with you. I'll just regurgitate a little bit what Noel said, and it's about perception. When I was trying to coach a baseball team at the high school, and Noel's coaching the soccer team, and we're trying to decide where the pool should go, the perception was that we're going to side with the school because we work for the school. I think people that know us know that wasn't the case at all. The same thing you're saying here. And nothing for Sherry. I believe in her, and I think she would be great. I think this is the wrong time and the wrong place, and that's my own opinion, because of that perception from the community. Again, my best example is if my wife is sitting there, everybody would laugh. What do you mean? It just doesn't make sense to me.
Maybe we should have this discussion when the candidates are back in the room.
And we could. We certainly could. We'll just do this one at a time and go from there. Sherry, we appreciate your time. Thank you very much. I'm sorry. Mr. Carlson is last.
I'm Bob Carlson, 1155 Winter Lane, Wyndham Park, Colorado.
Bob, if you want to start, just tell us why you're here and why we should vote for you.
Okay. Well, I applied for this position and then you've all seen my application. I thought I brought a lot of good qualities to the Personnel Board. When I was with the Defense Department, I served on the Board of Correction of Naval Records, where any sailor or Marine could come to this board as their final appeal for anything that was negative in their records. Re-enlistment categories, dishonorable discharges, whether they should have got a medal or not, that kind of stuff. And so I thought I had that background. Also, as a supervisor, I've had to deal with employees that were not quite up to standard and counsel them, and in some cases start to collect the instances where they are performing below par. And you know how hard it is to hire a federal employee. So I've been through those kinds of environments, and I thought I could bring something to the city on its own merit, or in a personnel board. My only question was on the last bullet on the application, and I had to think long and hard about that, because it talks about, well, mostly it would concern impartiality, fairness, things that all are expected by board members. And I felt at the time I submitted the application that I could do that. And that despite my record on council and the community as a rabble-rouser perhaps, that given my background and certainly my integrity, I think I could be impartial. I didn't put that on my form because I didn't want to even imply that, by saying I'm impartial, I didn't want to imply that city was impartial, or I'd be fair. I didn't want to imply. So I didn't use any of those terms. So up until Tuesday, I could have done it. Okay, but however, at our Main Street board meeting on Tuesday, I was accused of spreading rumors about Jane Mannon, and she came out with a statement that says in part,
Mr. Mayor, this is inappropriate for this discussion at this point. If there's a personnel issue to discuss at a later date, we can happily do that, but there's no connection to assignment with the personnel board.
I
wasn't going to bring up anything related to personnel, just the statement as applied to me.
No,
Okay.
not now.
Fine.
Not now.
Well, as a result of what happened at the Tuesday meeting, which is on the record from the Main
No.
Street board.
Stop.
Okay, fine.
That's enough, Bob.
What I'm trying to say right now is I cannot be impartial. I'm tired of the machinations behind this, and therefore I am withdrawing my application. So filling the 3 positions with the 3 that are left should be very easy to do. Thank you.
Okay, I think that Kip's bringing everybody back in. Did we get everybody?
Yeah, I think we should have discussion
Before they come in?
Yes, I
Okay.
think that's best.
Absolutely. Then I'm going to start just quickly, and Bob's not here right now, but I can't tell everybody how much I respect his decision in this regard. I think it's absolutely the right decision. He's part of Main Street, and this is where my issue is with Ms. Carr. It would be if Bob was standing there right now and his application was submitted. I just think it looks bad for our community. So at least for me, I respect Bob's decision. Council, how do you want to approach this, Noel? You want to talk about each one individually, or do you have...
I've made my decision.
You made your decision. Has everyone made their decision? And if so, then we can pass out the ballots. I think that's the direction we're going to go. Is that okay?
Maybe we need to clarify on the voting here, because
We'll do that.
we can either vote for 1, 2, or 3, because we don't have to fill all 3 positions that was mentioned originally. If
Personnel Board. We'll collect those, we'll tabulate them, and see what those numbers look like, and see what next step we need to go to.
Fair enough.
And write our name.
What level of majority do we need? Is it just a simple majority?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. David, I'm just going to put down initials because
Say again?
I'm just going to put down initials because
That's fine. That's fine.
Kip, I think you can bring everybody in.
And I'll read these into the record, the order that you see at the dais. Mayor Levy votes for Jason DeVoe. Mayor Pro Tem Harvey votes for Jason DeVoe. Councilman Carr votes for Peggy Fields, Sherry Carr, and Jason DeVoe. Councilman Matthews votes for Jason DeVoe and Sherry Carr. And Councilman Sawyer votes for Jason DeVoe, Peggy Fields, and Sherry Carr. So the tabulation is that there are 5 for Jason DeVoe and 3 for Sherry Carr and 2 for Peggy Fields. So as you can see, there's 5 this evening. The majority, a simple majority, is 3 votes. So that would mean that Jason DeVoe and Sherry Carr are now members of the Personnel Board.
Yeah, thanks again to everybody. Bob, you weren't here when I said that lots and lots of respect for you for pulling out in this regard. I just think you made the right decision, and you're going to be around the board, and you're going to be around helping like you always have. So thank you for that. I think that a lot of respect from everybody. Yeah, God bless you for that. The other 2, if you'll come forward, Suzanne will swear you in.
She gave up knitting and she just retired only to quilting. So
just what?
But she just does quilting.
Or quilting, excuse me. I'm a layman. Congratulations, Sherry and Jason, and Suzanne. We'll be in touch for the next steps, right?
Oh, we'll probably keep advertising.
We'll need to continue advertising because the charter demands that there be 3 folks on the Personnel Board, and so hopefully we'll have some other applicants that the council can interview.
Great. Great. Thanks very much. Okay, we'll move on. Item 3B on your agenda, and Carol Greenstreet, welcome. And Jed Bowman, and I guess Brian Gustafson, everybody.
I'm trying to be your PowerPoint.
The Brain Trust from Woodland Park School District.
31 Loafers Lane, Woodland Park. Thank you all, Councilman, Mayor, Aaron, city employees, thank you all for giving us a few minutes. It's very important to the Board of Education to stay engaged with the community, and we wanted to take just a couple of minutes to come back and talk to the council on 3 specific areas. One is the budget, the sales tax. We had some promises that we made to the community, and we wanted to come back and report on how those have been delivered. We'd like to take just a few minutes to talk about the strategic plan that we're working on, and also give just a little highlight of some of the things that have gone on in Woodland Park School District. And to make that happen quickly, I'm going to turn it over to Brian Gustafson and Jed to do that, and at the very end, we'll take whatever questions that you have.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Brian Gustafson, 981 Paradise Valley Drive. I'll reiterate what Carol said. Thanks for the opportunity to come and share out now after a year of sales tax revenue flowing from the city to the school district, and we just wanted to give a quick update on how that's gone, what we've done, and what we plan to do as we move forward with a new fiscal year for us. Carol's passing out a little flyer fact sheet for you that I'll touch on briefly, and I'm going to go pretty quickly, and we ask that you just hold some questions till the end. Dr. Bowman will cover a few other items, and then we'll open it up for any questions, whether it's about sales tax, strategic planning, etc. Okay, obviously we all remember an election back in April 2016, about a year and a half ago, for increase in sales tax to benefit the school district, obviously a city sales tax, and I'm grateful for the work of the city and from Mike and his staff in making that happen, making that work on a monthly basis on behalf of the school district. And what we try to do, what we said we would do, is address five key areas: staffing, compensation, and a mill levy reduction for the property tax owners in the school district, address some facilities and maintenance needs, mostly deferred maintenance needs, and address some technology issues, as well as some innovative programming and post-secondary items for the school district. So when we're talking salaries and benefits, compensation, adding some staff, we've done that. As far as the mill levy reduction, obviously we've done that. If you've looked at your property tax statements, hopefully that went down in the last year. But in doing so, excuse me, we did have to do some financial restructuring. So we do have now certificates of participation on which we pay annually appropriated payments. So I'll get to some of that stuff. We have addressed some facilities and maintenance needs, things from drinking fountains to new faucets, new toilets, erosion control, all kinds of different items. Some technology needs. Mostly last year, and I'm talking fiscal year 16-17, we've addressed technology infrastructure, some Wi-Fi capability at all of our schools, etc. And then innovative programming and post-secondary items that we've addressed. We've used some of the sales tax money to bolster our area vocational program enrollment, some concurrent enrollment for high school kids, etc. Also, science, technology, engineering, mathematics staff members, and partnerships with Catamount Institute, Aspen Valley Ranch, etc. So we've done a lot of things, the things we said we were going to do, and that's really, we're excited to report those things, and we're going to continue on with those. What we collected, and this, I'll show you a little bit here. What we collected in the first 12 months was about $2,077,000. The projection we had going into the whole process was that would be $2.1 million, so pretty darn close, and just $23,000 off. If you look at the little pie chart here, and you start crunching some numbers, and you see, well, that's what we say we spent, and that is what we spent, now audited for 16-17. You'll add that up, and you'll see that, well, that doesn't add up to $2,077,000. Well, it's because that's what we spent in 10 months of the fiscal year that we had the money coming in. So we've got some carryover there that we're going to defer into this fiscal year for helping replace our middle school roof, and that process is already underway. So that's, if you start crunching the numbers, that's why there's a difference. You can also look and you can see what we collected month by month. Again, thanks to Mike, his staff, and the reporting and record keeping there. And obviously, just like you all experience, we're heavily reliant upon good Decembers, good summers when it comes to sales tax revenue, bolstering the operational fund of the district. Okay, so that's what we've done. What do we plan to do? I'll go back because I'm stealing Jed's thunder right here. What do we plan to do? That's at the bottom of the page. Same categories. We're going to address more salaries and benefits needs. We've increased salaries. We've added staffing positions. And we were here a year and a half ago talking about where are we in the scheme of competitiveness with other districts. Does that all of a sudden throw us into the middle? No, it doesn't. But it's helping here, and that's the goal, and it's making a difference here. We now have greater COP lease payments because last year we only paid on interest. Now we have principal and interest payments starting. So that's why that chunk looks a little higher for what we need to do this year. We're going to continue addressing facilities and maintenance needs, technology. We're seeing more devices for more kids and more schools, so we're doing that. And then additional funds going towards those same innovative programs and innovative programs, post-secondary options. So things like our E3 program, that was a year-by-year basis. Now we're more confident in that continuing on because of sales tax dollars. So that's the quick and dirty as far as what we've done, what we plan to do. And then, like I said, Jed's going to talk about some other things, and then we can open up for some questions.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Brian and Carol. Jed Bowman, 155 Panther Way, Woodland Park, 80866. That's the school district address. I'm superintendent. I'm proud to say that because it wasn't Panther Way, and that's an example of a partnership with the city that we renamed the road, and it's now Panther Way. I'd also like to thank Brian and everybody else, but it reiterates how much we support buying local. And tax dollars, keeping them local, they benefit our city and they also benefit our schools. So really appreciate folks in our community that are able to do that. My pleasure is to talk about the strategic plan and where we are with that. It's a process that we embarked on over a year ago. And this is kind of an update, and in a sense, we're moving along quite well with that. You have a brochure in front of you. I will, for those, you are getting a brochure. And I'm embarrassed. Boy Scouts were here earlier, and Boy Scouts are well prepared. This is a very old version of a PowerPoint, but we're making it work. The updated one, we had technical difficulties, so just to share that. I apologize to the Boy Scouts. We had a community task force that convened in 2012 and 13 with the 23 community members, very diverse group of folks that we opened ourselves up and said, we need your help. Come help us look at key areas and what can we do as a school district, what are we missing. We have a great spirit of getting better. Our desire is a constant drive to be the best that we can be. The 23 members came up with 3 primary recommendations that they felt we needed to do. There were more, but 3 primary. One was to promote our district. That group of people felt like we had a great school district, but not everybody knew that we had a great school district and that we needed to do a better job of promoting the wonderful things that we do. So we've been working hard and continue to do so every day, just like anybody that's in business can know and understand. So I feel very good that we've been addressing promoting the district. The other one was to secure sustained funding, and we were able to, as you just heard and you were part of, and we're so deeply appreciative of a 1.09 cent Woodland Park sales tax. We did that. And then the other one was absolutely to develop a robust strategic plan. And there was debate about which should come first, the strategic plan, then ask for sustained funding, or sustained funding strategic plan. We chose the latter. And so I'm here tonight to share with you where we are with our strategic plan. We involved, last year we involved about 1,000 people. We had stakeholder conversations, roundtables. with 118 people. We did stakeholder surveys that were generated from that we ended up having 737, I think it is, respondents. From that feedback and from our work together, we took all of that and we have created vision, mission, core values, or core beliefs and objectives. And from those objectives, we are still building the plane, so to speak, a bit, our strategies and actions. We've landed on our strategies, and then the devil's in the details of what that all completely means. But what you see in front of you in that brochure captures down to the strategy level. The core beliefs, I call them the core beliefs, if you'll turn your pamphlet over, are important enough to highlight because they were absolutely foundational to everything that we do. And those of you that have been in organizations and been involved in vision work, you know that sometimes you start with the vision and work your way backwards, or sometimes you start with your value statements and your belief statements and you work your way towards a vision. In the case of our school district, our new vision was generated by this work that we did and the thinking that we did to create the beliefs first, and then the vision emerged second. So just to be clear that. And I am going to read these, and I know that people can read. I'm not trying to insult you. I just think they're so important. The first belief is that students, we believe in students being at the heart of our actions and decisions. It's critical that we never lose sight that we're here for our students first. We believe in educators that inspire, empower, and connect with students. We believe in relationships that are positive, productive, and collaborative. We believe in families and communities as partners in learning. And we believe in environments that are safe, welcoming, and supportive. And if you think about those 5 belief statements and what they entail, that helped guide our next work, which was to develop our objectives. And this is from a lot of stakeholder input and feedback and organizational input and feedback. Communication, these are just the primary objectives with their definition. Communication comes up just about in any organization I've ever been part of, and it came up in ours too. We're constantly striving to do the best job of pull in communication and push out both. And our key thing here that we think will distinguish us is that we want to bolster relationships through purposeful communication. It's about the purpose of the relationship through communicating. That's a critical point that I wanted to make. The educator talent, just like all of us in the room who've chosen to serve whatever profession we're in, you're only as good as the people that are serving. And there's no truer statement than in education that every single child that we educate, we want them to have the absolute highest quality, best teacher, educator possible, and support staff. And that was loud and clear from our stakeholder input. Social emotional growth mostly came through the behavioral expectations. It was very clear to our community and to both internal and external that we need to do a better job of having higher expectations for our students and staff. And so we believe that it was strong enough to become one of our primary objectives. And then, of course, a big reason we exist is for the academic success. And that what we want to is maximize preparedness so that any student who comes to Woodland Park School District RE2 walks out of our doors and has the foundation to be a successful person in whatever they choose to do, whatever that next step for them is. And we say that whether we have a child for 2 days, 2 years, 12 years, 13 years, we want to do our very best every minute of every day with every child. So that's where we are with the process. You have the pamphlet in front of you that has a bit more detail. And I'll just, if you have any questions about that either now or later, then let me know. We're just really excited about where we are. And I'm purposely saving the vision. I've got a short video that I'm going to share with everybody about the vision that you can see on the front of that. School highlights, just some programming highlights. This is from the 16-17 school year that we wanted to just showcase. The Elevate Environmental Education, the Summit Learning that's going on at our middle school, the Blended Learning Academy at the high school. We had a great year with awards and grants. We were able to generate more than $600,000 in awards and grants to help us with gaps in our system. Phenomenal year. as we've been reaching out to help us with things that are critical needs in the school district. And then this was, I know it was shared earlier, I believe, at a council meeting, but over $4 million the graduating class of 2017 generated on their behalf. That's just an amazing amount of money for about 180 graduates. And then in the area of activities and athletics, this is not everything. These are just a few of the select things that we're really proud of this last year, just to showcase. I'm not going to read them. They're there for you to see. But boy, if you look academically, if you look athletically, and you look at our activities, we are really having some significant achievement from students in this community, in this school district, that we're very, very proud of. And now our vision, our new vision, is Woodland Park School District, RE2, a place of becoming. And now, I'm just so blind.
Woodland Park School District, a place of becoming.
Hi, I'm Jarek Bickford. I graduated Woodland Park High School in 2011, and I'm a wildland firefighter.
My name is Allison Harper. I graduated from Woodland Park High School in 2005, and I became a mother and an architectural designer.
My name is Nicole Nickel, and I graduated from Woodland Park High School in 2002, and I became a mother of 4 and a crop biotechnology scientist.
Hi, my name is Gabe Stromack, and I go to Summit Elementary. I will graduate in 2026. When I grow up, I want to be a goalie for the Colorado Avalanche or serve in the U.S. military.
My name is Cody Wise. I graduated Woodland Park High School in 2008, and I am currently the Denver Nuggets Media Relations Coordinator.
My name is Cosette Chaput. I graduated from Woodland Park High School in 2009 and am now leading the digital team at a sports agency working to bring the Olympic and Paralympic Games back to the U.S. in 2028.
Hi, my name is Bodie, and I'm a 6th grader at Woodland Park Middle School. And when I grow up, I want to go to Middlebury College in Vermont and become a professional skier.
My name is David Greenstreet. I graduated Woodland Park High School in 2009, and I'm a captain in the U.S. Air Force.
My name is Jay Cisneros. I will graduate in the year of 2018, and I want to be a successful member of this society.
My name is Mariah Everman Enkeman, and I graduated from Woodland Park High School in 2001. I became an author and playwright.
My name is Kaylin Eady. I'll graduate in the class of 2019, and I want to become a veterinarian.
My name is Don Davidson. I graduated from Woodland Park High School in 1975 and became a teacher and a principal.
My name is Gavin Goss. I'm in 5th grade. I would like to become a pilot because they have to work hard and it would be fun to drive an airplane.
My name is Amanda Howell. I graduated from Woodland Park High School in 2002 and I became a high school teacher, a photographer, a stay-at-home mom, and a teacher coach overseas.
Students envision what they will become. Alumni move across the world to become professionals. Alumni return home to become professionals. Elevate your education at Woodland Park School District, a place of becoming.
There we go. Thank y'all very much. Did y'all notice Gavin? I really wanted him to stay because he hasn't seen that. And it did work when we watched it yesterday. So I'm not sure what the mic problem was tonight on this video, but we're open. If you all have any questions, we're happy to field them.
Johnson.
More than anything, thank you for coming through on a promise you made to us a year and a half ago, and it is really heartening to see what those tax dollars have
substantial difference.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you very much for that, Chris.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on to agenda item 3C and Tony Perry. Welcome, Tony.
Okay. Tony Perry, 330 Ponderosa Court, Woodland Park, Colorado. In the interest of trying to be succinct, since I've been accused of waxing poetic on many occasions, I'm going to actually read this to hopefully be a little bit more accurate and get through this a little bit quicker for you. Hopefully not ad-libbing too much. Excuse me. Thank you for the opportunity to address the council regarding several issues within the community. First, as a follow-up to my interest in working with Mr. Coy Tanner to address the perception of blight in our downtown, I would like to thank Mr. Coy Tanner for the hours of research and discussion relating to the appearance of the downtown area. We could agree on two important points. The appearance of the downtown is important to the economic vitality and overall perception of our community. And if the property owners do not properly maintain their buildings in the downtown, there could be a deleterious impact on property values. We did differ a little bit on our perspective and approach. In general, I believe the city does a great job of maintaining the appearance of our city assets, particularly exceptional when it comes to the plants, flowers, general appearance of the city. I suspect the city has a maintenance schedule for long-term capital replacement improvement with those assets, and if not, this would be an effort that should be considered. I believe it is the private property owner's responsibility to maintain the appearance of their assets. This includes the challenges of dealing with the emissions from vehicles and chemicals spread by the state during the winter. That said, I would welcome working with like-minded building business owners such as Tanner to find a private solution while engaging the city where appropriate. We are fortunate that most residents and visitors to our city look towards Pikes Peak and not the gutters when visiting the city. We are not alone in the challenge of dealing with a major highway through the center of town. As a business community, I urge us to take a leadership role in discovering how other communities have addressed similar issues and determine the proper course of action. Second, I think it's time to address the past, present, and future of the DDA, Downtown Development Authority. Past. We have had many community members and leaders volunteer their time to support the DDA initiative. Some I can remember include the late Mr. Tom Carrick, Mary Jo Larson, John DeVoe, Scott Downs, Tom Holmes, Jim Ignatius, Steve Ingram, Ralph Holloway, Will Brown, Steve Randolph, Jeanette Brown, Jan Wilson, Dale Snicker, Al Bourne, one of my bosses, Andy Murphy, Gary Crane, Gary Brevetto, Carol Harvey, Michael Faber, Vera Egbert, plus recent appointments Elijah Murphy, Tanner Coy, Jerry Good, Noel Sawyer, and Ellen Carrick. I may have missed a few, but this list really punctuates a lot of really strong community leaders and volunteers that have served this community for some back into the 60s. We have had 3 executive directors, Joe Napoleon, Beth Cosley, and Brian Fleer. I greatly appreciate the work and effort, especially of our volunteer board members. I believe that despite the yeoman efforts of all these fine people, the DDA was destined to end up where it is today, primarily because it seemingly was implemented to work around the city charter, which prohibits overt participation in furthering private business. The initial chairman of the DDA was a developer, and he threw in flowery language about supporting art initiatives in the downtown in his initial statements back in the early 2000s. The city council in the late 1960s set clear guidance, and the taxpayers have yet to authorize a change to that mandate on not supporting economic development in an overt way. Successful business persons would not have acquired the Woodland Station property without, at minimum, the due diligence of a Phase 1 environmental study, which would have revealed the possibility of environmental hazards. Although we we should have pushed the timeout button in the early 2000s when the DDA proposed giving away the land to the successful builders and developers of the time. They actually set in the land, divvied up the property into about 13 different parcels and buildings, and said, we will give you the land if you build a building on it. It should have been a pause for timeout when none of them took the city up on it or the DDA up on it. Should have given us pause to think. Many mistakes, promises to potential businesses never kept, very few successes, questionable TIF deals were all a product of not first understanding how TIF deals actually work and could be administrated through a definable, consistent, and fair process that did not choose winners and losers in the marketplace. Every DDA board has endeavored and labored to become developers of the property. Every board has relied too heavily on the executive directors without proper internal controls and bought into too many pie-in-the-sky schemes. Taxpayer money has been wasted and continues to be wasted. Unintended consequences to our other taxing districts, fire and EMS, once recognized and not adequately addressed, has plagued this board. The current board has successfully cut expenses by not replacing the executive director, but has left itself vulnerable to more inconsistencies, no clear process of administration, no clear mission or reasonable plan of action. In other words, this board has improved some areas, and thankfully getting a handle on the finances by Mr. Coyle was a big one, but in other areas it has deteriorated. Excuse me. The DDA, and in fact the taxpayer, is in a lawsuit where expenses are well beyond what was anticipated with no end in sight. The board continues to operate with their eyes towards the sky with no real internal controls and no resources to effectively manage the DDA. And resources are critical. They're a volunteer board trying to do a difficult job, and they have no resources to do it other than their blood, sweat, and tears. We fast-tracked bringing a property into the DDA and then did not approve any TIF. This has an appearance of taking monies from other taxing districts and then not distributing those monies via some sort of negotiated TIF deal. Why is that important? Because if you don't get the TIF deal and the business doesn't come, and you don't get those tax revenues, then we just harmed EMS and fire yet again. Inconsistency is the worst thing that government can communicate to the marketplace. I applaud the city for discontinuing the Office of Economic Development. Never supported it from day one. We are all in this together, and the current DDA board also labors under the burden of all previous actions, precedents, and actions of all three executive directors and boards. And I think that's sometimes lost, that just as city council, you have to deal with issues that you didn't create, that you inherited. The current DDA board has done the same. The DDA exists at the pleasure of the city council. I have come forward now because I believe this council can help lead us out of this quagmire. We will eventually pay off the bonds to Vectra and pay back the taxpayers of the city the monies owed by the DDA. We can wait for the market to bring a solution to Woodland Station. That does not require the taxpayers to speculate on a project that should not be done at City Hall. The carrying costs are minimal, liability insurance, and mowing. Some thoughts for the City Council to consider. Any potential TIF deals in process should be brought to a reasonable conclusion, excluding at minimum the fire and EMS monies from future deals. The Council should seriously consider directing the DDA board not to engage in any deals not already on the table. The Council should consider providing support to help the DDA board determine a fair, consistent, and explainable process on any deal needing to be brought to conclusion. The Council should direct the DDA board to disengage from any efforts relating to the development of the property, and the City Council should form a committee comprised of parties knowledgeable in development, which could include some of the current DDA board members, for evaluating any future development efforts that come from the private sector, emphasizing private sector. The Council should direct city staff to maintain the property from a safety and aesthetic perspective. The City Council should oversee all monies in from the taxpayers and flowing out to the recipients via the current city resources. The City Council should oversee the DDA budget. The City Council should consider directing that no new TIF deals are forthcoming except perhaps those in the pipeline, perhaps. The City Council should direct the City Planning Department to manage any future development consistent with the master plan. There is no need for a DDA subcommittee deciding the fate of projects or signs. The lawsuit. I believe it is in the best interest of the taxpayers for the City Council to form a committee to objectively evaluate the best strategy to minimize expense with regards to the current lawsuit against the DDA. Because in fact, it's a lawsuit against all of us if we think about it. A fresh perspective is warranted, and the City Council should engage resources to make sure the best path is chosen. This effort alone could be a significant contribution by the sitting council and could result in minimizing the financial and other negative impacts of the lawsuit. I sincerely appreciate your time and consideration.
Thank you very much, Tony. Thank you. Appreciate it. This is the first time we've seen this, so we will take a closer look at it, and we appreciate your input as always. Okay. We will move on. No additions, deletions, or corrections, and we do consent calendar. And Suzanne.
Thank you, Mayor Levy. This evening on tonight's consent calendar, we have one item, and that's the approval of the minutes from the September 21st, 2017 regular meeting.
Council, any questions, any issues with those minutes? If not, we'll call for a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Suzanne?
Matthews?
Yes.
Sawyer?
Yes.
Carr?
Yes.
Harvey?
I'll abstain since I was not in attendance.
Thank you. Levy?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries 4-0.
Okay. We'll move on to unfinished business and the VERT committee update. Val, what have you all decided?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Since at the other presentation I had to excuse myself. I apologize. My height prohibits seeing the screen down here very well, but we'll try. Is it all set?
Chip can help you.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, City staff, fellow citizens. This PowerPoint presentation was authored by John Schaefer, who's not here tonight due to an emergency health issue. I'd like you to just please take a personal moment to pray for he and Mary, and I will carry on the best I can in his absence. But thanks to John Schaefer for this. The Vehicle Usage Review Committee has been around for a while, and we have a report that we will hand out after this presentation to the City Council, the staff, and a couple copies for the press, and maybe a couple extra for those highly interested in the community. But My intention is to present the PowerPoint and then maybe take a few questions, but for council to really consider it and the city to consider it on a long-term basis, maybe the next work session particularly. There's a lot of material. It's too hard to put it all in a PowerPoint, and unfortunately we tried to do some of that. The VERC, which is the short name for our Vehicle Usage Review Committee, was established in January 19th of this year. The council appointed the committee members, myself, John Schaefer, Bob Carlson, Darwin Nacarado, and David Buttery, who is the staff liaison for all our requests that the committee came up with, so that he had a direct management of the staff. As you will see in the report, we've got engineers, statisticians, and even people with fleet management experience. The council did an excellent job in picking the people on this staff. Our first meeting of the whole committee was on February 23rd, 2017. Our mission, I demanded that everything was a clean slate, never mind what we talked about last budget season, and an open mind to serve on the committee. I asked everybody in the committee to acknowledge that or get off the committee, basically. And the data was going to tell the story, not any other preconceived notions. We focused on studying cost efficiency hypotheses that we came up with. Right sizing was the big thing. That and efficiency are the two big words that we were looking at the whole time as our objectives. And our last mission was to report to council recommendations for fleet management changes before the budget for 2018. And we're starting that process tonight with a PowerPoint and the subsequent report that I'll hand out after I'm done should be studied carefully by everybody. Data collection summary. The final number of subset of the fleet, that we studied was 35 vehicles, excluded 20 PD police department vehicles except one vehicle in that department, and excluded heavy equipment. The data collection period was shortened to 4 months from our original 10 months. So we had, but we still had 2 summer months and 2 winter months. So we had a representative sample. The VULs, which are called vehicle usage logs, were designed by the VRC and completed each workday by all the drivers of the various vehicles. We had a wide range of completeness and details. It made it extremely challenging to enter the data due to problematic logging practices. Some were good, some were bad. You'll see in the report we've got samples of good ones and bad ones, and some of the decisions we had to make were kind of tough. As far as analyses, we had 2 methods. One was based that we used to average the usage rates. One was based on half-hour task assignments blocks. And what we did was we went through all the logs and put down every 30 minutes for from before 7 o'clock to after 5 o'clock, and put down each task in each of those blocks for the majority of the effort that was done. There were 2 purposes in that. One was to allocate time usage, and the other one was to just track what everybody was doing with their thing for optimizing on overlaps and multi-purpose. Each equal weight was assigned to each method. The report talks about more in detail about that and why all that was done. We have a weighted average by departments based on a number of vehicles. You'll see a bar chart on the next slide that will show our collective data. We worked about 500 hours plus on this as a committee to put all the data together, including analysis. John Schaefer and I have been really for the last 2 months principal working on this, and that's why it's too bad John's not here tonight, but hopefully he will be here later. So Actual data eliminates the opinion-based he said, she said disagreements. Facts are clearly the proper basis for any analyses and conclusions, and that was really the goal of the committee, was to get facts instead of speculation. This is the summary bar chart. We came up with all these hundreds and hundreds of pages of data. And you can see the fleet has about 12% usage, field service has 45, parks, buildings, and ground 41, streets 37, city hall 15, 28 for the water treatment plant, wastewater treatment facility 16, PD 8%, and the overall average weighted was 29% usage in the fleet. The VURC data entry was liberal in usage credit, but analysis were very conservatively based to have agreement in the conclusions. So we gave a lot of credit for blank entries because we projected that they were busy in these times, whether it showed it on the sheets or not. We tried to give reasonable credit where credit was due. And then when we went and did our analyses, we went the other way. We were conservative in analyzing things, even though the data was greater than maybe was logged. Appendices A and D in the report will give greater detail of the task usage vehicles. Pardon me. For those who don't know me, I have an essential tremor, so it looks worse than it is. So we came up with some conclusions based on this. There's great detail in the report on how we came to these, and this will be the first of a couple of charts. This first chart shows specific vehicles and specific locations where some easier choices were made per vehicle. You can see in Action 1, this actually is a planned activity by the city already. I understand retire an old sewer camera into a van, which is an excellent idea. The water treatment plant has cumulative vehicles usage less than 100%, 85% total for 3 vehicles. So we decided a couple vehicles could be reduced there down to 1. The wastewater treatment vehicles usage is less than 100%. It's 49% for 3 vehicles. So we claimed that 1 vehicle can be retired out of that. That's why there's a -1 in the right-hand column. Action item 4, the wastewater treatment plant at Divide vehicle is used 10%, and that equates to 11 minutes work transport per day. We think we've driven all these routes and understand that that might be better served with a personal POV. So there's -1 there. Vehicle 100 is a police department vehicle that they transport, principally transport speed cones and speed trailers. All its tasks can be easily arranged with other vehicles. There's lots of vehicles with truck beds and trailer hitches in the fleet. A call to Public Works facility or the fleet maintenance facility supervisor for rare hauling seemed reasonable to us. The liftgate, they use it on the weekends and holidays. 52 and 38 can be positioned there for weekends and holidays for that principal use. Number 43, which is action number 6, and I apologize, this is very hard to read. It's very busy, but we didn't know how to do this any better. Number 43 is rarely used, and it can be easily done with a POV, privately owned vehicle, or motor pool at the city hall if available. Which leads me to my, so this slide has 7 vehicle units that we recommend reducing. This second slide talks about motor pool, and we came up with 2 motor pool locations, one City Hall and the other the Fleet Maintenance Facility, Public Works Facility. They're less than half a block from each other, and one can easily walk between them. We had 3 categories of vehicles in here that we looked at. The first category, 1, has 5 vehicles in it for 60% of 1 vehicle day if you total up all the usage. So it's 12% per vehicle on average. The usage, if properly managed as a motor pool, would suggest they're 2+. And you see these highlighted 2 pluses. There's 3+, 1+. You see them embedded in there. These are what we consider conservative estimates. So 3 vehicles left to share a 64% vehicle day, or 21.3 per vehicle remaining. Going to number 2, these are vehicles which all have less than 50% usage. There's 8 vehicles there. Their total usage is 2.76 vehicle days, or 34.5% usage per vehicle. We felt there was 3+ surplus vehicles there, and leaving, if you took those 3 away, that would leave 5 of that type, with a resulting average usage rate of 55.2 vehicles, 55% usage per vehicle. Number 3, also in this location, are 8 vehicles with total usage. All these vehicles were used more than 50% average, so according to our criterion, those task identities, whether it's a person or a truck or whatever it was a keeper. That's what we call it in the report. So this is 8 vehicles here, total of 5.06 vehicle days. So you can see their usage is much larger. And if we felt motor pooling all these vehicles together in this one pool, 1, 2, and 3, you could easily eliminate another vehicle amongst there with proper management of motor pooling and things like that, fleet management. The remaining 15 vehicles in this motor pool would only average 56.4 daily usage per vehicle for all of the vehicles. We did not study the police department, as I mentioned before, or heavy-duty vehicles, except for 100. So we came up with a number which we believe is conservative based on all our analysis. You will see all the analysis in greater detail in the report. So we came up with 15 down there. So what are our recommendations? I guess we're not going to get to that. There we go. We recommend to approve a change of fleet management program, including the motor pool model for 20 transport vehicles. 35 minus 15 is 20. 20 is our baseline based on our usage. Implement a new program by January 8th, 2018. These are suggested dates. Complete a new budget impact for 2018 by November 17th. That's a real date because our budget's being acted on. Dispose of 15+ excess vehicles by February 28th to right size. Once again, right size is what we're talking about, the transport fleet at 20 vehicles. We also want to develop and implement new policies and procedures by January 5th. I guess that's a council meeting date, 2018. Our further recommendation on inspecting the data and the tasks associated were to eliminate staff's personal and take-home use of city vehicles, minus the contractually one that we are aware of. So we feel these dates are reasonable, and we really want to emphasize the fact that we want to change philosophy into a motor pool model for a resultant 20 transport vehicles out of all the light-duty transport vehicles available. We also want to eliminate the POV and personal and take-home use. Okay, so we did a quick calculation. It took a week and a half, but anyway, we went through and analyzed different costs and all these things. We feel that reducing 15+ vehicles, we estimated about $3,000 a piece, depending on which ones you choose. This is an estimate, about $45,000 one-time bonus to the budget. We did a finer analysis on recurring annual expenses, and that's $115,000. And you will see that detail in the report, and it's pretty extensive. We also recommend eliminate the $128,000 that's put in the budget proposed for new vehicles by utilizing some of the surplus vehicles instead. So in other words, if we're going to reduce 15 vehicles, among those 15 vehicles and other vehicles in the fleet, there's a possibility of substituting out without buying any more new vehicles. Now the bottom line is, when you put all those 20 vehicles, you'll see this bar chart on the right, all those vehicles put together will only increase the overall usage per vehicle to 33%. So we went from 29% to 33%, getting rid of 15 vehicles and going to a motor pool. Emphasis. So we were quite surprised by these numbers. We expected them to be higher, but they weren't. That's the data. That's the way it was. As I mentioned, we had the whole committee was full of engineers, statisticians, and one fleet manager. So we put our heads together, and Mr. Schaefer and I have been doing yeoman duty for the last couple of months. So this is all we need. It costs about $200 total cost. We need a key fob holder at 2 locations and a sign-out sheet. We'll now pass out the full report for council to consider in our upcoming budget work sessions. We don't intend that you have studied any of this, all the details in the report, and we will try to have detailed action items present at those meetings, those work session meetings. This report is very thorough, so I ask council to carefully digest it and come prepared to discuss any questions they may have. I am available for questions by anybody via email or my home phone number, just like we do with the budget. Just call me up. And I'm hopeful that John is also available, but we will determine that later. Thank you for your attention this evening. I appreciate it. I'm going to hand out reports now. And
Val, thanks very much for your presentation. We're going to do as we said. You'll pass out the reports, give certainly the city manager and council time to study that. Do we have a sense, Mr. Buttery, when we can put this on the next agenda, maybe a month, or what are your thoughts on that?
If I listened to Councilman Carr correctly, he intends to have this as part of our budget work session discussion, which is next Wednesday, 6 days from now. I certainly didn't intend for that to be part of the work session discussion, but it can be. If council wants to use that time for that, we can. As you heard, this is the first time we're getting this, and so we'll need to do a tremendous amount of analysis on this and comparing our own data, and also incorporate operational components of this, and it's going to take some time. Will we be prepared for October 11th? We'll certainly try. I don't know. It's a lot of analysis to do to reduce the fleet by 3/7 of the numbers, but that certainly will give it our best shot.
In the meantime, do you have any questions for me, or should I?
I think we'll just wait, Val, and go from there.
Thank you.
If the city's not ready at our first work session, we'll have subsequent work sessions. And honestly, I'd like to do this, assuming all's well, when John's with us. If that makes any sense. So, but thanks very much for the presentation. And somebody passing out. Everybody got these that need it? Okay. Sounds good. Thanks, Val. Okay, we have a lot of nones in front of us. 7, 8, 9, and 10. We're going to move on to public comment on items not on the agenda. And I've got a couple people signed up to start, and Gail Garrett is first.
I'm not tall. Gail Gehrig, 1180 Pine Ridge Road, Woodland Park. I'm board member of Teller Senior Coalition. And I came tonight to ensure Woodland Park Council and citizens that you are aware of our recent award. On September 21st, the Colorado Association for Transit Agencies awarded Teller Senior Coalition the Human Services Agency of the Year Award. And Maggie, our head of our transportation, loaned me the official award tonight. Ted Schweitzer, on that date, head of transportation in Cripple Creek, was awarded the Rural Transit Agency of the Year. I will note that last year, Teller Senior Coalition won that award. Maggie also wanted me to make sure that we extended a thank you to the staff, the volunteers, and all of the community for their support. I also wanted to emphasize that this significant honor for our organization is really important because we provide the most transportation and other general services to the seniors of Teller County. This is really important because in 2010, the senior population over 65 was 3,100 people, and it is projected to be 6,200 by 2020. That's only 2.5 years away. So thank you, and we are very proud of our award.
Gail, thank you, and reach out to Maggie. You all are doing a great job, clearly, and we are an aging community, as we all know, and you made it very, very clear. So thanks very, very much. Okay, I have one more on this list, Elijah Murphy.
Good evening, Elijah Murphy, 204 West Midland Avenue, a member of the community who is feeling his age this evening. Mayor, City Council members, City staff, I would like to thank you very much for allowing me to speak this evening. I know you're coming into the budget season, and I don't envy you. Death by Excel spreadsheet is often a fate worse than death itself. I hope to share some of that time with you and be here to see what you're going through. As you know, I volunteer for many things in the community, and I think it's a bug I caught in the Boy Scouts, and it carried over into the military. In fact, I like the Boy Scouts so much I spent the next 20 years in the military. Today I find myself now volunteering in the community in which my wife and I own our business, or in which our business resides. I want to send out a request to the local community. Please, please, please start reading the paper so you see the notices. Get out and volunteer. There are entirely too many of the same people serving on the boards and the committees in this community. We need some fresh ideas. We need fresh blood. We need fresh people to come out and help. Start volunteering, get on, come to the Main Street meetings, come to the DDA meetings. Come out and volunteer. Be part of us. Be part of it. Okay? It's like I said, there's just too many people doubling down. So one of the you know, I get it. People sit there and they go on social media at night while they're not watching TV. Come out and be part of it. Get involved in the discussion and not just on social media. If they could, please. Mayor, you brought up a very good point earlier. The point on ethics. It does not even require the perception of wrongdoing in ethics. It requires, according to Article 29, Ethics in Government, Section 1, Purposes and Findings, that public servants, officers, government employees, they shall carry out their duties for the benefit of the people of the state. And Section C says, they shall therefore avoid conduct that is in violation of their public trust or that creates a justifiable impression. It only requires impression. Okay? The Article 29, or Amendment 41, created a thing called the Independence Ethics Commission. Their latest publication, Colorado Independence Ethics Commission, Ethics Handbook, 3rd edition, 2016 article, Section 7. There are those who believe that because some communities are home rule communities, that ethics don't apply to them. However, Section 7 of it succinctly states, any county or municipality may adopt ordinances or charter provisions with respect to ethics matters that are more stringent than any of the provisions contained in this article. The requirements of this article shall not apply to home rule counties or home rule municipalities that have adopted charters, ordinances, or resolutions that address the matters covered by this article. And as we know, well, not everybody knows, the requirements are, when addressing these things, that they must be more stringent than the current laws, as stated. Well, a couple weeks ago I did talk about something that was going on, and I felt that possibly the law was being violated. Because Article 24-18-109, which is the law covering rules of conduct for local government officials and employees, that a local government official or local government employee shall not perform, and this is paragraph 2, subparagraph B, they shall not perform an official act directly and substantially affecting to its economic benefit a business or other undertaking in which he either has a substantial financial interest or is engaged as counsel, consultant, representative, or agent. For instance, it would be highly appropriate for Mr. Buttery to have a vote on city council meetings. Okay? There's a law lesson for tonight. So, and this, I have sleepless nights, so sometimes I just get to sit around and read the computer. I'm a hard-working member of this community. I collect taxes. I've grown a business 30%, brought it up, and started collecting even more taxes. I kind of resent being a tax collector, but it's part of the job within the community. One of the things I do is everything I look at, I first look at my ethics, whether it be with my employees or somebody I'm dealing with. I allow myself one free meal a day at my establishment, no more. I do not allow myself to drink at my establishment, no more. Okay? I never did on the drinking part. Would it be fair for me to own that establishment and not give my employees a meal? Maybe. But the fact is, I own an establishment that is covered by Colorado labor law, in which it is not only suggested, but it is the law that I give my employees a meal because I cannot give them regularly scheduled breaks. It costs me over $35,000 a year to feed my employees. Okay? With that in mind, I feed them every day. I do not cut back, I do not restrict, I do not control. They are allowed a meal every day because it is the law. I could say no. I know 90% of the restaurants in this town, people come to my place and say, well, I never got a meal at these other places. And they've worked at numerous places. Okay? Sadly, 2 weeks ago, I did make a suggestion that a business owner had refused to sign a petition because he feared reprisal. Sadly, not long ago, I was handed a letter. Copies of that letter were also handed to the press. And I cannot express my level of disappointment in that. Woodland Park, it is a great place to live. It should be a great place to work, to own a business, and to know that the community and the city staff is 100% support of everyone and everything. When we start letting our personal stuff, well, maybe it's not personal stuff, That is a copy of the letter I received, and that's all I'm going to say about it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. That's all I have signed up today. Anybody else like to come forward? Seeing none, we'll move forward to the mayor's report. Got a couple of announcements. Wednesday, this coming Wednesday, October 11th, is the homecoming parade. It's at 6:30, followed by the homecoming bonfire, which is, gosh, everybody left, but I think it's going to be, I'm sorry, Carol's there. At, I don't know where okay. 7:30 bonfire. Is it going to be at the high school? Is it going to be at the middle school? Middle school. High school's got a pool or something over there. We can't do it there. So that's always a great event. A lot of you folks here in the audience have seen a lot of homecoming bonfires. Next Friday is the homecoming football game versus Mitchell High School at 7 o'clock. And then Tuesday, October 17th, 5:30 to 7, the Chamber of Business After Hours. This time is at Fidelity National Title and Vector Bank. It's actually at Vector Bank and Fidelity National Title offices there. And that's all I have. Before you start, this young lady has worked her tail off the last, I don't know how long. And this is a little off subject, but what she does for us is amazing, so I'm going to let her give you a couple of minutes on what she's been up to the last month, at least.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to talk about a whole of community, if not a whole of nation response to what began 6 weeks ago in Texas with Hurricane Harvey, surprisingly, then Hurricane Irma, and then finally our territories of Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands were hit by Irma and Maria. What I've learned is the importance of the incident command system and how well it works. All disasters are local, we all know that. But when a local municipality or a state runs out of Schlitz, then they go to the federal government. And the federal response to these hurricanes has been incredible. But not only the federal government. It's been the private sector, it's been faith-based organizations, all the NGOs, including the Red Cross, have done phenomenal work in all those states. In fact, I have a brother who's still serving meals in Florida with the Baptist Men's Association. I have another brother who's clearing debris in Texas because if you can't clear the roads, you can't get the commodities to the people who need them. I will have to say that I know that the federal response in Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands has been incredible. I know that sometimes on media it will look like we've been slow to need, but that is not the case. There's probably about, I can't remember the number this afternoon, I think it's almost 10,000 federal and state personnel in Puerto Rico alone. And a lot of those have come to Puerto Rico under Emergency Management Assistance Compact, something that the city of Woodland Park, the state of Colorado does use. And that's when you ask another state to come to your aid at no cost to themselves. And surprisingly, nearly every state in the Union has come to the assistance of Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. By the way, those are not countries, those are U.S. territories. My role is very, very minimal. We work at U.S. Northcom 3 primary missions: Homeland Defense, security cooperation with the other North American countries of Canada and Mexico, and then civil support. And that's when DoD is not in the lead. We are supporting a lead federal agency. In this case, it is FEMA. And we do what FEMA tells us to do. And we have used strategic aircraft to take commodities to Texas, Florida, and those territories. We've used DoD assets for search and rescue, which was incredibly important in those first 72 hours after each of those hurricanes hit those states and territories. And we've provided medical personnel. We've provided water purification units to Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. Right now, Puerto Rico, only 5% of the population has power. Some could argue that part of that might have been self-inflicted for Puerto Rico. Regardless, their power grid in Puerto Rico is gone, and what the federal government will do to help them restore that, I can only guess. But I will tell you this, Corps of Engineers is providing huge generators to the hospitals in Puerto Rico. Nearly all of the hospitals now are on generator power, but they are providing life-saving capability for those hospitals. Department of Defense has brought in mobile air traffic control towers to those two territories, and had they not done that, we wouldn't have been able to bring commodities and resources to respond to the two disasters. My job is to make sure we work ourselves out of a job at U.S. Northcom, and hopefully we'll be able to do that in the next couple of weeks. But I just want you to appreciate that this nation really does respond when the time is necessary. And I know that in my own community, and I know it's happening at the federal level as well. So thanks for that opportunity, and now I have some housekeeping to take care of. Next Friday, I will be going to the CML Policy Committee meeting, and all of you received the read ahead. I have no ifs, ands, or buts about any of the policy initiatives that the committee has proposed. So if you've got something in the end of that package that you'd like me to support, let me know. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Carol. Val?
Yes, that means I don't have to go.
No.
I'm not, as I read the email, it said only if you're absent. So thank you for doing that for us. A couple things I didn't emphasize on the VERC committee, the Vehicle Usage Review Committee. Mr. Darwin Nacarado, who's in the audience today, and Bob Carlson. Bob did a yeoman work trying to help out. Darwin did an amazing amount of work. They all contributed extensively. John and I did we lost our committee members, and we've been scrambling. And I'll really hate to feel that he's not here because of that. But anyway, thank you, gentlemen, for helping out. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Main Street. I was in Canada in my 50th high school reunion. The whole time stuff happened. I'm still going through my 250 emails and talking about not knowing what's going on. I guess I'll be discovering some stuff. Main Street has implemented yet another bylaws, which is actually, they're kind of honing in on a clear definition of bylaws. We've only had about 6 meetings to do that, but we finally have something that we passed recently, and hopefully Main Street will get off the bylaws and start doing some of the other wonderful volunteer efforts that they do. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, on behalf of the Keep Woodland Park Beautiful Committee, the Paint the Depot Day took place September 30th. There were over 15 volunteers, spent over 6 hours painting the Midland Depot in the middle of town. It was sponsored by 1-800-WATER-DAMAGE, and Keller Williams provided lunch for those volunteers. I'd just like to thank those volunteers and Keller Williams and the sponsors for keeping downtown beautiful.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Sawyer.
Budget workshop next Wednesday. I'd just like some clarification on time.
Sure.
7:15?
Yep, 7:15. We realize that there might be folks on council who want to attend homecoming, or folks that want to attend homecoming that might want to spend an evening talking budget. So 7:15, right here.
Can we request a design of the tables?
Beg your pardon?
Can we request a design of the tables?
Sure.
Kind of like Main Street does and DDA does? Would that be okay with council?
Oh, round table? Yeah.
We'll do the best we can because we do want to take advantage of the TV screens.
Right.
So I think that could work fairly well. And if we have audience members, maybe we'll do a U-shape so that it's open up to the audience and then they can see the screens from that side.
I think that would be best because the last year was kind of uncomfortable.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Noel. Council? Nothing. Okay. Mr. Buttery?
No, sir. Thank you.
Nothing at all. Okay, that's everything tonight, folks. I would just say this. Thanks, everybody, for coming. Let's keep John Schaefer in our prayers, thoughts tonight, and may God speed.